Having planned where the equipment location would be in the steel building, we set out to dig the trench for the PVC conduit for the array combiner box location. Initially, we had planned to install the panels to the west of the building, but quickly realized that would be a very long run for the combiner box to the charge controller, easily 100 feet. Digging that trench would have put me close to the Green Dream project digging skills. Not. I was going to purchase a large controller, and then JC had a brilliant thought that went something like,
Stupid question. Why don't we just put panels on the south side of the building closer to the mechanical room?
This made the run under 18 feet instead of over 100. Brilliant. Here's a quick view of the 1¼ inch conduit that we used next to the building for the current array as well as any expansion. JC matched the color of the building, and we added a pair of 45s to get the pipe past the footing of the building into the trench. This conduit will supply the DC plus and minus for the current array, along with the ground wire for the system, as well as any other wires that we add for future arrays. Here we've got all the back posts set, and we're starting the front ones. We use the 4x4s on the outer corners and 4x6 for the inners. This allowed us to use 8-foot lengths of 2x8s for the ledgers front and back. And we got a pair of bolts on each end. This pic shows the south side wall of the building. To the left, west side of the building is where I originally thought we'd put the panels, as we have lots of room for expansion, until JC posed her stupid question.
Now installed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 posts that will be holding our solar panels. As we are doing the last ones, woo! It's been a lot of work. And there's the puppies.
Here we see the conduit mounted on the northwest post and connected to our Midnight Solar Combiner box. I ended up buying the NMPV6 to accommodate 4 strings of 3 panels in series. JC made the conduit pretty by matching the paint with the other end of the conduit that connects to the building. Here's a few shots of conduit all glued up and ready for wire to be pulled. Here I'm making sure we buried the conduit to a sufficient depth. Gotta follow those rules.
Alrighty, so we've pulled wire through. We were very fortunate that we had enough length. Quick note to anybody doing this job, get an extra 3 feet just in case. Or rather, yeah, 3 feet, right, Dave?
Yeah, about that.
If you think you need 30, get 33.
I miscalculated getting into the distribution point inside.
And the elbows, like all the bends, maybe?
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, where we're
So, we've got the ground in, we've got the... tell us.
Oh, we don't have the ground in. Shoot, that's what I gotta do.
So tell us what you've got in there.
So far I've got the main leads going into the garage that connect to the power distribution panel. Positive, negative, and then I've got a ground coming out here because our main grounding rod's going to be out here. Got the lightning arrestor, going up positive, ground, negative, and then now I'm going to pound
Sand.
this behemoth
Pound
to the
sand.
ground.
Nice.
Solid
Okay.
copper grounding rod.
All right.
Actually, I need the ladder.
Okay. Pounding we shall go.
So here we go. We've got the first support up. So we've got 4 posts in the back, 4 posts here in the front, and I've got the first one. We got about a 30 degree, actually it's more like 27. I used a couple of different websites to calculate out what would be the best year-round for a stationary mount. And so what we've got is 4x4s on the outside corners over here and over there, and then 4x6s. So we got plenty of room to overlap and get good bite on those guys. And so now what we're going to do, we're about 7 feet in the back. give or take a little bit. And now we're gonna lay a straight edge, hopefully one of these nice long 2x4x10s down, and get a good marking on these front ones, because I want to make sure they should be about 2 feet high, but I want to make sure I get it kind of exact. I angle cut those. If you guys are looking at the Upside of Downsizing channel, Bill over there, he did the same thing, although he cut angles on his post. I'm not going to bother doing that. You can see I got it right there up to the corner. Not really necessary for what I need. I just cut them all off at the top there, and then I'll do the same thing at the bottom. But because the rafters are the pieces that are going to hold the panels, or at least the super strut for the panels, aren't really going to get close to those posts, so I don't have to worry about anything going over the top of those or anything like that. So yeah, so we're going to line it up and make sure that that we got everything.
Here's a shot of the Simpson Hurricane ties I used to install the pressure-treated 2x4x10-foot rafters that will hold the Unitstrut. We'll mount the panels onto the Unitstrut with cone nuts. Here we go, we've got all the ledgers bolted to the post and we've started installing the rafters. But first, lunch. All right, all the rafters are installed and ready for the Unitstrut to be mounted. This went pretty quick. Now we're cooking. We've got all the Unitstrut mounted on the rafters and ready for the cone nuts and panels. Those will have to wait until tomorrow, as now it's time for cocktails.
Okay, JCDC and the AZ, this is our first panel up. One, very, generator noise and puppy noise. But actually, it went up pretty easy with just us two. We started with pre-screwing in the, what do you call them, grommets? What are they?
Cone nuts for the super strut.
Cone nuts for the super struts. Then we decided to push it all the way up to the top and hand screwed it in, and we're going to check it for level and square and go with the flow.
Moving right along here, we wanted to make sure we had the alignment square, so we mounted the first column, then the top row. After double checking the alignment, we commenced to tightening the bolts, which was a tedious job, as there's not much room with the smaller Unitstrut to get man-sized fingers under those panels. You know what I'm talking about. Here we see how we ran the negative parallel connections from each vertical string across the bottom ledger and up the east rafter, making their way to the combiner box. In this shot, we see all the parallel connections, both negative and positive, run across the top ledger and down the east post and eventually into the combiner box. We don't really show it, but each pair threads into 2-hole grommets to make its way into the combiner box. And here it is. The panels are all installed and ready to start producing some major power. Can't wait to say good night, awesome generator. For those wondering, we purchased our panels from a company called Santan Solar. No affiliation or sponsorship yet. We went with some LG factory rejects. Now these panels are still rated to 100% as they're actually brand new panels. They just can't be sold as LG new. These are 335 watt panels with all the specs shown here. I actually only paid about $105 a panel. A steal if you ask me. We'll be buying more soon to fill out the second half of our array. Guess where I'm getting those? Here we decided to move our fencing, which currently is only used to keep the dogs corralled, to include the panels. We had our youngest daughter Drew with us during this time to lend a hand with the fence pulling. As you can see, we're using a makeshift fence puller. 2 2x4s bolted to the end of the fencing, then a tow strap wrapped around it and connected to our Jeep's winch. Just line the Jeep up parallel to the line of the fence and use the winch to reel it in. Add a little tug here and there and nail it. Easy peasy.